Hello world, and we are back. My name's Andy Weeks, and this is going to be episode 40 of my poker vlog. Wait a minute. That doesn't sound right. What's up everybody, it's your boy Andy, hope you're having a great day. Wait, that doesn't sound right either.
Rent got too expensive, had to leave LA. So I got into my car and I went away to the big estate.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the vlog. It's been a while. It's been about 4 months. Let me get you caught up on what's going on. The family and I are settling into our new home and we absolutely love it. My daughter's twirl season just wrapped up and her team absolutely killed it at nationals. We brought a lot of hardware home, so congratulations to the girls at Epic Twirl. Sadly, summer is coming to an end. I've managed to put some content together for you guys. I've got 10 fully produced episodes that I'll be releasing here. Something I have taken a little bit of advantage of is releasing some short form content. For those of you unfamiliar with the term, that's YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikToks, things like that. As a dumb old man, I've never really paid a whole lot of attention to that kind of content. I put my first short out on June 28th and it gained a little bit of traction. I continued to put content out every couple of days after that, and it has really opened this channel up. In the last month, my channel has had almost 285,000 plays and I'm up over 250 subscribers. I can't believe I sat on this for so long and didn't put it out earlier. I feel like such an idiot. I could have been releasing these shorts all throughout my little hiatus, but regardless, we have full-length episodes, we have shorts, we have a lot of content coming your way here in the coming weeks and months. With this new, more broad, wider audience has come a lot of criticism.
And what do you know? We got a couple haters.
However, I always encourage any comments you guys have about my content, even if it's not necessarily positive. I do take the time to read all of those comments. Also, if you enjoy this content, please like and please subscribe because it is really helping this channel grow. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, which would be a really cool mark to hit here in the next month or so. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. If you enjoy the videos, please like. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it. In the first hand of the night, we are straddling from the button and we look down at a vlog favorite, Jack 8 offsuit. +1 makes the call before it folds all the way around to the hijack who also calls. The cutoff calls, and when the action gets to me, I bump it up to $20. Both +1 and the cutoff make the call, so we're off to a flop 3 ways. The flop is 10 queen ace, so I flop myself a double gut shot here. It checks to me, and I put a C bet of $30 out. +1 is the only caller, so we're off to a turn in position, heads up. The turn is a 6 of clubs. My opponent checks it to me. He only has about $45 to $50 left, so any bet that I make is probably going to get him to go all in, so I decided to go ahead and just slow down and check behind. The river is a 3 of hearts, so I didn't get there, but my opponent checks to me. I consider putting out a bet here to try to take it down, but I'm really only getting called by better hand, so I just go ahead and check it down. My opponent says he missed, and he shows 8-9 offsuit. That's one of the few hands that I can beat, so we scoop in this first pot. We're in the big blind this time when we look down at ace-queen offsuit. There are limps from +1, +2, the button, and the small blind, so when the action gets to me, I bump it up to $16. +2, the same guy from the last hand, is my only caller. We're off to a flop, out of position, heads up. The flop is queen 3-6, so I flop top here. I check it over as I want to give my opponent a chance to fire at it, but he checks behind, so we're off to the turn. The turn is a 3 of clubs and it pairs the board. I go ahead and put a bet out of $20 to build a pot, and my opponent pretty quickly calls, so we're off to the river. The river is a 9 of diamonds, and any draw that maybe could have been possible seems to have bricked out about as well as I could ask for. He has about $75 to $80 in front of him. I check to let him take a stab at it, and he does for $25. The action back on me, and expecting to be good here 100% of the time, I check raise to $75. He doesn't think too long before letting it go. We're straddling from the button once again, and we look down at 6-8 of spades. There are 4 callers before the action gets to me, and a good player here would squeeze to get all that dead money that's out there. I, on the other hand, opt to check. We're off to a flop 5 ways. The flop is Jack 7-8, so I flop middle pair here. It checks all the way around to the hijack, who bets out for $20. I'm the only caller, and I'm looking to see what develops on the turn. The turn's an interesting one. It's a 6, giving me 2 pair, but now this board is much more connected than it was before. However, my opponent slows down and checks to me. So I go ahead and put a bet of $40 out, mainly for value, but to also put pressure on any hand that isn't made yet. My opponent ends up folding, and I win again. We're in the small blind this time, and we look down at pocket kings. It folds all the way around to the cutoff, who makes the call, as does the button. When the action gets to me, I bump it up to $15. The button is the only caller, so we're off to a flop heads up out of position. The flop is 6-7-9, and I actually see the button act out of turn, and he tries to check. So I decide to go ahead and pounce on that, and I bet out for $15. The button then comes over the top all in for $51 more. I'm not super comfortable with this board considering he limp called the flop. This board, I think, connects with him way better than it does with me. I think he could have a hand like 6-7 or maybe 8x or 9-10 for a pair plus draw. I think about it for a while, and I kind of reluctantly make the call. My opponent flips over pocket 10, so we're actually not in terrible shape. The board runs out clean, and we win another one. We're in the big blind again when we look down at Jack 6 of hearts. We see a call from under the gun, as well as the hijack and the small blind. When the action gets to me, I bump it up to $10. It's one of those raises that's designed to get a bunch of calls and start building a pot, and that's exactly what happens as all 3 players call, so we're off to a flop 4 ways. The flop is 4-7-8 with 2 hearts, so I flopped a gut shot straight draw and a flush draw here. It checks over to me, and I bet out for $15. It then folds around to the hijack, who jams all in for $86 more. It folds back to me, and I'm not necessarily getting a great price to call here, but it's only 86 more with my gut shot and flush draw. I can't only get my money in when I have made hands. I've got to mix it up and be willing to call off a reasonable all-in on a draw, so I make the call. What an interesting run out, as the turn is a 5 of clubs, giving me my straight. The river, a 3 of hearts, making my flush and almost giving me a straight flush. I announce that I have a flush. I show my hand. He tells me we were good at the turn. We're in the hijack this time, and we look down at 6-7 of diamonds. We see a call from +1 before it folds all the way around to me, and I bump it up to $10. +1 is the only caller, so we're off to a flop heads up. The flop is 4-5 king with 2 diamonds, so I flopped an open-ended straight draw and a flush draw here. My opponent checks it over to me, and I bet out for $15. My opponent then insta-check raises all in to $87 total. It's about $70 more to call, and I'm not really getting a great price, but I'm drawing to what feels like 35 to 40% of the deck, so I make that call. My opponent flips over king-queen with the queen of diamonds. Type of hand I expected him to have here. The run out does not improve us at all, and the opponent takes this one. We're in +2 this time, and we looked out at ace-10 offsuit. We see a limp from under the gun before it folds to me, and I bump it up to $12. Under the gun is the only caller, so we're off to a flop in position heads up. The flop is ace-10-10. My opponent checks it over to me, and with the board so locked up, I check behind. The turn is a 3, which will change absolutely nothing. But my opponent leads out on this card for $15. Looking to get a little bit of value, I put in the old min click to $30, and I'm rewarded because my opponent calls, so we're off to the river. The river's an interesting card. It's a king, so now anybody that was playing an ace thinks we're probably chopping here. My opponent checks, and I want to pick a size that can get a call from a non-believing ace, so I settle on $45. Looking back, I think I could go closer to $60 here, but I want his decision to be simple. He snap calls and rolls over ace-8 very confidently. Now I definitely think I could have gotten $60 on the river. We're in the big blind this time, and we look down at jack-9 offsuit. It folds around to the hijack, who calls, and I didn't see him call. and that's going to be important later. The cutoff then jams all in for $19 total. It folds to the small blind, who calls 19 off. I figure I can call and play the rest of the hand in position, so I call, and then the hijack, who I didn't realize was in the hand, also calls. Oops. The flop is 5-8-7 with 2 diamonds. It checks to the hijack, who bets $86, leaving himself $14 behind, so really the bet is $100. I have an open-ended straight draw and a backdoor flush draw. I'm getting almost 2-1, but I don't think it's a great price, and I actually end up folding. However, we will get to see a run out. The turn is a 4 of diamonds, and the river is an 8 of spades, so after seeing the run out, I would have missed, so I don't mind the fold here. We are in the big blind when we look down at ace-jack offsuit. Under the gun opens the action for $7. We see a call from both the low jack and the hijack, as well as the small blind. When the action gets to me, I re-raise to $35. It folds around to the low jack, who calls. Then the small blind calls all in for $25. There's about $100 in the main pot, $20 in the side pot. We're off to a flop. The flop is queen 6-6, so I have whiffed here. I check, and the low jack bets $35. I'm not quite ready to give up on this hand just yet, so I go ahead and peel one off. We're off to the turn. The turn is a 9 of hearts, so it brings me no help, and I decided to go ahead and just kind of give up here, and I check. And surprisingly, my opponent checks behind, so we're off to the river. The river is an 8 of hearts. It's kind of an interesting card here. Being first to act, I know I can't win this hand at showdown, but my opponent's already invested $70 into the pot, and he only has about $90 behind, so he's committed almost half his stack already, and it's going to be hard for him to fold any queen, so I decided to go ahead and just check it. Once again, my opponent checks behind. He rolls over king queen, so I don't think he was getting away from that one. He wins. We're in the cutoff, and for the second time today, we look down at 2 red kings. Under the gun opens the action for $8. We see a call from +1, and it folds all the way around to the hijack, who also calls. The action's on me, and I put in the 3-bet to $35. It folds back to under the gun, who makes the call. +1 folds, and then the hijack shoves for $68 total. The action's on me, and the betting is still open here, so I put in the 5-bet to $150. It's back on under the gun. The guy seems like a pretty straight up player. Jacks and queens are going to jam here. Ace jack through ace king is mostly calling. My opponent gives it a good deal of thought, but he eventually makes the fold. The hijack flips over pocket jack, so once again I'm in really good shape. Let's see a run out. The flop is 8 ace 9. The turn's an 8. And the river, the 4 of spades. The run out is clean here, and we win this one. We're straddling from the button again, and we look down at ace queen of spades. We see calls from the small blind, under the gun, and the hijack. The action's on me. I squeezed to $30. I went a little larger here because this is the 3rd time I've 3-bet under the gun, and I think he may call a little lighter if he's getting frustrated with me. However, one by one, they all make the fold. I include these hands though because they're important. Picking up $15, $20, $25 of dead money and not having to see a flop, those pots really add up over the course of the day, and this session was full of a lot of them. I've played a lot of hands well today, but this is not one of them. We're in the small blind and we look down at pocket 9s. There are 3 limpers before the action gets to the cutoff, and he raises to $12. It folds to me, and I consider a 3-bet here. This opponent had been very aggressive, and I think he could be doing this light. However, in real time, I opt to just call in the hopes of bringing in others. Now, I've got a pocket pair, and it's a medium strength pocket pair, but I probably don't want to bring a ton of people in. But I make the call, and it works because under the gun, +1 and +2 all call, so we're off to a flop multi-way. The flop is queen 10-6, so not the greatest flop for my hand. It checks around to +2, who bets $40. It folds over to me, meaning the aggressive opponent's folded out, and I decided to go ahead and peel one off and see what develops on the turn. Under the gun and +1 get out of the way, we're off to the turn, heads up. The turn is a king of hearts, and so ace jack gets there, and any jack is now open-ended. I have picked up an inside straight draw to go along with my pair. I check, and my opponent stares me down, then ends up checking behind. The river is a 6 of clubs, so it pairs the board. This is definitely a hand that I need to be betting because all the straight draws bricked out. If he has a queen, then he has a queen, but there's only 3 of them left. Any jack probably doesn't have a made hand. Any ace may not have a made hand. So this is definitely a betting situation, but I decide to take the showdown value of my hand and I check. My opponent pretty quickly checks behind, so I think I'm good here. Unfortunately, he flips over queen jack and he takes it down. Does a bet get him off his hand at the river here? I'm not really sure. He's holding top pair and he's blocking some straight draws. So just kind of a hand that I didn't really play very good from start to finish. We're in the hijack this time and we look down at king queen of diamonds. We see a call from under the gun before +1 bumps it up to $15. It folds around to the low jack who calls, and when the action gets to me, I put in the 3-bet to $45. Probably should have gone a little closer to 60 here. It folds around to +1 who then 4-bets to $145. He's only left himself about $65 behind. It folds back to me, and with his small sizing behind, I know he's getting it in on any flop. So the question is, do I want to gamble? Facing a 4-bet, I have to think it's pocket queens, pocket kings, pocket aces, or maybe even ace king, which I'm way behind any of those hands.
No, it's fine. I mean, I know it means we're playing for 200.
Yeah, for sure.
You're getting it in on any flop. So.
Any and every.
Oh man.
You must really like the hand.
I don't.
Oh, okay. Then what is
I
the problem here?
don't because it's suited and connected.
You're behind.
After a bit of a tank, I end up folding my hand face up. +1 shows me the king of spades and mucks the other. He'd later tell me though that he had ace king of spades, so I was pretty behind on that hand. We're straddling from the button again and we look down at 8-9 offsuit. The small blind, the big blind, and under the gun all make the call. It folds around to me and I bump it up to $20. All 3 players make the call, so we're off to a flop 4 ways and kind of a bloated pot. The flop is king king 6, so on the surface it doesn't really seem like a great flop. However, it checks through to me, and 9 high can't be good here, so if I want to win, I'm going to have to bet. So I fire off for $65. It's about 2/3 pot, so if I get called, then I'll probably be behind and I can just shut down on the turn. However, everyone folds and we scoop another one. We're straddling from the button again. This time we look down at ace-8 of diamonds. There are 3 callers, and when the action gets to me, I decide to go ahead and check my option. We're off to a flop in position 4 ways. The flop is ace-4-6 with 1 diamond, so I've flopped top pair and a backdoor flush draw here. The small blind leads out for $10. The hijack makes the call, and I decided to go ahead and just call and see what develops on the turn, so we're off to a turn in position 3 ways. The turn is a 4 of diamonds, so now I can add a flush draw to my hand. The small blind bets out here for $15. The hijack folds and it's on to me, and I go ahead and raise to $65, which is about what he has left. I don't want to give him a cheap price to continue with a medium range ace, and if he has me out kicked, I have a flush draw to fall back on.
You have an 8 kicker, you have a set.
He seems to think that I have a set, and he says he has an 8 kicker, so I think we actually have the same hand, and I'm free rolling him if he calls. My opponent does end up making the call, and he flips over ace-8 offsuit, so we're looking for a diamond on the river. The river? A 3 of diamonds. In the last hand of the night, we're in the small blind, and we look down at queen-9 of diamonds. It folds all the way around to the cutoff, who bumps it up to $15. We see a call from the button. With the action on me, I decide to go ahead and call this one as well, as does the big blind, so we're off to a flop 4 ways. The flop is queen 10-9, so I flop 2 pair and a backdoor flush draw here on this super connected board. I check, and it checks all the way around to the cutoff, who bets out for $15. Then the button raises to $40. With the action on me, I know I have to protect my hand, and so I re-raise to $115. It folds all the way back around to the button, who decides to make the call, so we're off to a turn. The turn is a 3 of spades. That shouldn't change anything. I go ahead and jam for $105 effective. My opponent calls me pretty quickly. That can't be good. The river card is probably the worst river card that could have come. It's the 10 of hearts. Puts a 4-liner to the straight out there. I announce 2 pair and roll it over, and I'm actually good here. I played about another hour or so, but the cards just kind of turned on me. I seem to keep getting 3-bet or I had the second best hand. I even ran into aces one time. It's not that I don't want to show you guys losing hands. It's just not how I want to end the vlog. The last hour was literally just a bunch of folding and having the second best hand. So after about an hour of that nonsense, I decided to go ahead and rack it up and book the win. Wrapping up that session, not a bad day. I stayed aggressive in certain spots, kind of picking and choosing where I wanted to be aggressive. Got a couple bluffs through today. Kind of a disappointment the way it ended. I just, for the last hour, just kind of went card dead and was getting 3-bet and I ran into aces once. I just couldn't really put anything together, but overall, not a bad day. Ended the game for $200, out for $504. If you enjoy, like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more poker content. And you can follow me on Instagram at 7cardflushpoker.